I want to know right from the beginning. Were you a fan growing up before you got into wrestling? Because I know there's the rare cases where somebody, they got pulled in unexpectedly, but I know most of us were fans ahead of time.
I'm one of the rare ones. No, I didn't like wrestling at all. I was actively a jerk that didn't like it and was mean about it to my friends that did. Um, I didn't like it until I was 12. So I
Wow.
missed a big chunk of the hottest booms. But I tell you what, despite not watching a second of wrestling until the year 2000, I definitely got in trouble for doing suck it at school all the time. All the time. I went to Catholic school and both my parents worked there. And I wouldn't say I was sheltered. Like, I mean, I still watched rated R movies, but I could only get away with it at a friend's house. And that wasn't really why wrestling was never on. I feel like no one ever told me I couldn't watch it. But all my friends that did, I don't know, like knowing it was fake with the air quotes, whatever you want to call it. Like, I don't know, hearing that so early just made me not care, despite everything I love being super fake. So, but yeah, no, I would still do suck it and stuff all the time, and I knew what was going on. All my boys loved wrestling, loved it, and they would do it. They would give me moves, and it hurt, and I didn't know what they were. But no, I didn't like it until the first time I watched was SmackDown right before the Royal Rumble 2000. That Go Home SmackDown. That was the first time I ever watched wrestling, aside from seeing it in magazines, in your house for PS1. I remember one of my buddies had that, and I didn't know who anybody was. And yeah, magazines, toys. All my buddies had all that stuff. The shirts, of course. They all had the shirts. So I was aware of it, just didn't have any interest in it. All I cared about was toys and Star Wars and like video games.
That's so interesting because, the Royal Rumble season, I feel like drags a lot of people in because it's such an intriguing time. And it's always when there's the most interest in pro wrestling as a whole, not just in WWE, but all over.
I mean, I agree, and like now, that's always becomes my favorite time of the year, and a big part of it was because I mean, so Viscera is what caught my eye that made me not change the channel because I'd always just skip right past UPN. And but at the end of that episode, there's a huge brawl, and like everybody, like 30 plus, like dudes who did not get to be in the Rumble were in that brawl. I think the whole Main Street Posse was in there. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
everybody was out there, and so I went from only having ever really seen, The Rock, Stone Cold, those the main players, Hogan, the guys that were on everybody's t-shirts or binder or whatever. And then all of a sudden I saw like all these other characters. And as everyone knows, I am obsessed with Star Wars and what is in the background. And that's what it felt like. All of a sudden I felt like I had like there was like there was a new cantina scene for me. There was 40 new monsters and warriors and aliens for me to learn about. And I was hooked. That episode like couldn't have been better for the way my brain works and the way I enjoyed things.
that's super cool. And I can kind of relate to that in a different way where pro wrestling was always my passion. And I kind of like how you look down on wrestling a little bit. You're like, that's fake, blah, blah, blah. I was kind of like that with Marvel. Not like
Oh,
as a
okay,
kid, I
yeah,
liked it.
comics, yeah.
As a kid, I was like, oh, Iron Man's cool, Spider Man's cool, but I didn't really like care. And then probably a decade ago, I got into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and suddenly I was hooked. Everything I was like, okay, I was wrong about everything I ever thought about this.
No, honestly, I feel you. Like, and those examples you did, like those were just those characters that were can't miss. Those were the Rocks and the Austins, of and so it's like you weren't gonna. Of course, you knew of them, you were aware of them, and like, okay, neat, but that's as far as it went. And then, yeah, sometimes you just see something that opens your eyes further to make you at least want to check it out more.
Mhm.
And I did, man. I remember I didn't get to watch the Royal Rumble. My parents were like, well, absolutely not. We're not spending $40 on something you've liked for 2 days and that you hated a week ago. So, but I tell you what, man, I was asking everybody at school, what happened? What happened? What happened? And they were all like, oh, this. And so they kind of gave me a rundown. And then I was like, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. And I remember like going home and literally just like, I sat for like 4 hours until Raw started because I had to ask. I didn't really know when anything was on.
Yeah,
I was
that's a
just
good
like,
point.
oh, I was just like, oh, like what? When is it on? They're like, oh, it's Monday night. Okay, it's on USA, and I was like, okay, yeah, Channel Two. That's Channel Two for me. I know that. So I did my usual. I watched my Simpsons reruns, and then we watched The Wheel, we watched Jeopardy, and then some primetime crap or whatever. And then I just sat there and I was like, when is this on? And it was getting late. My parents were like, how late you staying up? And I just remember being like, just watching wrestling. I'm gonna watch wrestling tonight again. And then I watched it, and it was wild. It was the aftermath of that pay-per-view, and I was hooked, man. I looked up everything. Next day at school, I was like, what other companies are like? Is there more? And so everyone told me about WCW, ECW. I stumbled upon UPW on my own later on because like something was randomly airing on like a not public access, but I guess whatever the notch above that is.
Mhm.
So yeah, like that was just it just snowballed right away. Like by February, I think I was watching like I don't know 10 hours, no, I don't know, like yeah, 10 hours of wrestling a week.